I was walking across the stage at Buffalo University to collect my degree when I heard a blood-curdling scream. It was Melissa. She collapsed to the ground, sobbing and hyperventilating, and the entire graduation ceremony came to a screeching halt. Paramedics rushed in. Professors whispered. Cameras flashed. The only thing louder than her sobs was the pounding of my heart. It was always like this with her. My first piano recital, she fainted in the front row. Prom night when I was crowned queen, she clutched her chest in sudden pain. At my engagement dinner, she claimed she had an allergic reaction to air. No matter what the occasion, Melissa found a way to make it about her. 3 years later, her baby shower invite arrived. It sat unopened on my kitchen counter for 2 days. My husband, Daniel, raised an eyebrow and asked, "You're not going?" I gave him a small smile and said, "Oh, I'm going. I'm just going to need to be pregnant first." His mouth dropped open. "You're serious?" he asked. I nodded. The plan was cruel and specific. I had exactly 3 cycles to get pregnant before the party. We had been planning to wait, but I wanted this. I needed this. Month 1, negative. Month 2, also negative. I nearly gave up. Then finally, 2 pink lines. And not just 1 baby, 2. The ultrasound tech's words still echoed in my head. "Congratulations, it's twins." I laughed out loud, something wild bubbling up inside me. From then on, I became Melissa's biggest hype woman. I designed a countdown for her on Instagram. I threw all my energy into making her believe this would be her perfect shining moment. I even offered to do her makeup and hair the morning of the party. She cried a little while I curled her hair and said, "If only one of us could be pregnant." "I'm glad it's me." I smiled sweetly, smoothing on her lipstick. "You deserve this." No interruptions this time, I told her. Her party was stunning. Balloons everywhere. A 3-tier cake. Music and catered food. Even though she had already announced it was a girl on Instagram, she still insisted on doing a big gender reveal. Everyone stood around waiting for the countdown. I wore a flowy dress, but my bump was visible if you looked closely. 3, 2, 1, pop. Pink confetti exploded into the air. Melissa screamed, "It's a girl." Everyone cheered. She glowed for about 10 seconds. That's when my morning sickness kicked in. I bolted to the bathroom and barely made it in time. When I came back, people looked concerned. Someone asked if I was okay. I didn't mean to say it, it just slipped out. "Sorry, it's just the twins. I've been so sick." Silence, then an eruption of questions. "Twins? When did you find out? Do twins run in your family?" All eyes were suddenly on me. Hands reached for my stomach. Melissa's face turned an alarming shade of purple. She gasped, "I can't breathe." But no one noticed. Even her husband, Ryan, was asking me about strollers. "Hello?" she screamed. "This is my party." My mom finally glanced over and said, "Not now, Melissa. Sarah's having twins." That was the final snap. Melissa grabbed a cake knife. For one terrifying second, I thought she was going to stab me. "This is my day," she screamed, mascara dripping down her cheeks. "Mine. You stole my life and my baby's." Ryan wrestled the knife from her shaking hand just as her knees buckled. She crumpled to the floor, sobbing. "She always ruins everything," she wailed. "This was supposed to be mine." My mom rushed to her side, cradling her like a child. No one came to me. Not even when 20 phones pointed in our direction to record the meltdown. Ryan helped her into a chair. She began hyperventilating again. He whispered to her, but she was too far gone. Just then, my mom stormed over and slapped me hard across the face. The sound cracked through the backyard like a firework. You couldn't let her have one day, she shrieked. The party froze. Daniel stepped between us. Touch her again and I'll have you arrested, he warned. My friend Grace appeared at my side and shouted, I'm calling 911. Melissa doubled over and threw up on the grass. Ryan screamed they needed to get to the hospital. She was having contractions. As Ryan half carried her toward their car, she twisted around and screamed, if I lose my baby, I'll make sure you lose yours. Dozens of phones caught the threat. Daniel didn't hesitate. He dragged me to the car, dialed 911, and gave the police every detail. Grace sent us all the footage. By the time 2 officers arrived at our apartment, my cheek was still burning from the slap. The twins were kicking from all the stress. We filed for a restraining order Monday morning. An hour later, my phone rang. It was Nathan, our older half-brother. He sounded exhausted. He said Melissa was still in the hospital under observation for high blood pressure. He begged me to come to a family meeting. He claimed we needed to fix things before they got worse. I told him I would only come if we met in public and if Daniel was there with me. We agreed on a small Italian restaurant downtown. Those 2 days before the meeting felt endless. I booked an emergency OB/GYN appointment because the stress was eating me alive. In the waiting room, I noticed people whispering and pointing. The viral videos had spread everywhere. When Dr. Torres finally called me in, she did a scan and said both twins were okay. But she warned me that the stress was dangerous. She prescribed something mild for anxiety. She told me to avoid confrontation. I almost laughed at that. When we arrived at the restaurant, they were already there. Carol. Melissa. Ryan. Nathan. Melissa looked pale but dolled up. Carol launched right in, demanding that I apologize. Melissa sat beside her, dabbing at fake tears. She claimed I had always been jealous of her because she was the pretty one. Ryan flinched when she said it. Nathan tried to play peacekeeper. Then Melissa pulled out an envelope. She said she was suing me for emotional distress and for endangering her baby. Daniel didn't even blink. He called his cousin Emma, who was a family lawyer, right then and there. Melissa's smugness vanished in an instant. That night, Grace came over with wine and ice cream. She had saved screenshots going back years. Evidence of Melissa's constant sabotage. Her fainting at my graduation. Her panic attack at my engagement party. She had been quietly archiving it all. Emma came by later that week to review the lawsuit. She laughed as she read it and called it frivolous. But she said we could countersue for assault and for making threats. She started helping us prepare everything for court. For the first time in weeks, I started sleeping again. We got a temporary restraining order against both Melissa and Carol. It covered our home, Daniel's office, and my OB/GYN clinic. Within 48 hours, Carol violated it. She stormed into Daniel's office building, demanding to see him. She screamed about family betrayal. The police hauled her off in handcuffs. Daniel's boss told him to work from home. Then it got even creepier. At 3 a.m, I heard something outside. Melissa's car was parked across the street. It was just beyond the 500-foot limit in the restraining order. She sat in the driver's seat staring up at our apartment. She did it every night for weeks. Daniel installed cameras. Melissa adjusted her parking spot so she stayed just out of range. One afternoon, Nathan showed up at our door looking wrecked. He said Carol was crashing at his place. It was driving Ryan insane. Ryan was talking about divorce. Melissa's obsession with me was making her physically sick. The stress was affecting her pregnancy. A few days later, I went in for my 20-week anatomy scan. One of the twins was smaller than the other. Torres said stress could be the reason. I couldn't stop crying. I knew Melissa was destroying more than just our peace. Then things escalated again. Grace called me in a panic. Someone had posted my medical information in a Facebook mom group. They included my ultrasounds, my due dates, and the name of my clinic. Only someone with hospital access could have done it. It turned out Nathan's wife, Linda, worked in billing at the hospital. She had accessed my records 17 times in 1 month. The hospital fired her immediately. A criminal investigation began. Nathan was devastated. He said he had no idea Linda was feeding information to Melissa. The next day, Ryan texted me. He said he had found a notebook Melissa had hidden. It was full of plans to ruin my life. It dated back to high school. He told me he was scared for his daughter. He said he planned to file for custody. He even offered to testify on my behalf. Then Melissa went public. She posted a story online claiming I was stalking her. She included fake texts and photos. She had edited them to make it look like I was threatening her. The post blew up. Strangers started sending me death threats. Someone even posted our home address. The FBI opened a cyberstalking investigation. My blood pressure spiked again. Torres put me on modified bed rest. Being trapped in our home while Melissa lied about everything was suffocating. Grace began archiving all the harassment for a defamation lawsuit. Daniel took time off work to care for me and the twins. He was my rock. 2 days later, police arrested Linda for HIPAA violations. Nathan filed for divorce. The family completely fractured. Everyone was choosing sides. I was just trying to survive the war zone they had made of my life. A month after the baby shower, things spiraled further. We were in the kitchen when a process server knocked on the door. Melissa was suing us again. This time she claimed alienation of affection and conspiracy. She wanted $500,000 for emotional distress. Emma told us the case was legally weak but would still be expensive to fight. She countered with 3 lawsuits of our own. Defamation, harassment, and assault, plus criminal charges for Carol. 2 weeks later, I woke at 3 a.m. with stabbing pain in my belly. Daniel drove me to the hospital. Torres met us wearing pajama pants under her lab coat. She stopped the labor barely in time. I was only 24 weeks pregnant. If the twins came now, they might not survive. I stayed on hospital bed rest for 3 days. I was wired to monitors, terrified. While I was still in the hospital, Melissa posted on Facebook. She wrote that karma had finally caught up to me. Ryan visited me with flowers. He admitted Melissa had refused to take her mental health medication. He said he was keeping detailed notes for their divorce case. Grace organized a support rally in our backyard. People came with casseroles, diapers, and hugs. For a moment, there was peace. Then Melissa showed up screaming on the lawn. Her water broke in the middle of her rant. She collapsed, clutching her belly. An ambulance took her away. The next day, we learned she had delivered a healthy baby girl. She named her Delphine Aurora Sarah. Yes, she added my name. Ryan texted that he was refusing to sign the birth certificate until Melissa got counseling. Grace hosted a do-over baby shower for me 2 months later. During the party, another process server showed up. Melissa had filed a restraining order claiming I caused her premature labor. The judge assigned to the case went to Carol's church. Emma immediately filed an appeal. That night, I lay in bed with my belly huge and my heart heavy. We were exhausted. 10 weeks passed in legal limbo. Then Grace brought me something unexpected. It was a dusty box from her garage. Inside were our childhood photos. Pictures of me and Melissa before the chaos. Matching Halloween costumes, birthday candles, tea parties. I broke down crying. There had once been love. That same day, Ryan called. He said he had filed for emergency custody after finding a new notebook from Melissa. It had 20 pages that just said, "Destroy Sarah." She hadn't taken her medication in weeks. The judge granted him temporary custody. When officers arrived to serve the papers, Melissa ran with the baby. Carol helped her escape. An Amber Alert went out. We stayed glued to our phones until the police found them in a motel. News footage showed Melissa screaming while being dragged into custody. The baby was safe back with Ryan. But the charges piled up. Kidnapping, interference, harassment. Emma asked me if I was ready to testify. I said yes. Nathan visited next week, eyes hollow. His marriage was over. He finally admitted he should have protected me. 3 months after the baby shower, I was giving a deposition when contractions started again. At the hospital, Dr. Torres stopped the labor once more. The court threw out Melissa's restraining order. Bench warrants were issued against her and Carol. Still, Dr. Torres insisted I remain hospitalized until the twins were born. Melissa tried to visit the hospital with a knife. She screamed that the twins were hers. She was arrested again, held without bail. Ryan visited my room with baby Delphine. He asked if Daniel and I would be her godparents. We said yes. The trial began the same week as my scheduled C-section. Emma set up video testimony from my hospital bed. I watched Melissa sit in court in an orange jumpsuit. The jury heard stories of every milestone she had ruined. Videos from the baby shower made some jurors visibly ill. When asked about my pregnancy, Melissa locked eyes with me and muttered non-stop. Nathan brought digitized tapes from our childhood. We watched us ride bikes and play in the yard. The sister I once loved had been real. The next day, my mom took the stand. She admitted to hitting me and playing favorites. When shown the sabotage pattern, she acknowledged Melissa had a problem. Ryan testified with the infamous "Destroy Sarah" notebook. Melissa lost control, screaming threats. She was declared mentally unfit for trial. Carol was convicted of assault and harassment. She got 2 years probation and was banned from contacting us. At 35 weeks, Dr. Torres said we couldn't wait any longer. Daniel and I spent our last night together in the hospital. At 7:23 a.m. Our son was born. A minute later, our daughter followed. Daniel wept holding them both. The twins went to the NICU for 3 weeks. Emma brought news that Melissa had written me a letter. It was part apology, part delusion. She was pregnant again. Ryan was devastated. Grace showed photos of our soon-to-be Seattle home. We prepared to leave Buffalo. When the twins were healthy enough, we signed discharge papers. Nathan arrived with news that Linda had pled guilty to the HIPAA breach. Grace hosted a quiet goodbye dinner. Nathan gave us an album of childhood photos. At the airport, I saw Melissa with a hospital aide. She mouthed something like, "I'm sorry," before being led away. In Seattle, we settled into a quiet street. Daniel got us into therapy. Nathan called with updates about mom's therapy. 3 months in, the twins smiled for the first time. Ryan moved to Portland with Delphine. Then Melissa had a psychotic episode and lost her baby. Ryan broke down. 3 months later, Grace moved to Seattle permanently. 8 months in, Daniel suggested renewing our vows. We did it in our backyard with just family. 9 months after we left Buffalo, Melissa's psychiatrist asked if we'd consider supervised contact. I didn't answer. The twins took their first steps on a rainy Tuesday. Some nights I still dreamed of the Melissa I used to know. 1 year after the baby shower, I posted a photo of the twins laughing at the park. Caption: "The best revenge is a life well lived." I turned off the comments. At the park, Daniel pushed the twins in the swings. A woman beside me said our family looked so calm and happy. For the first time, I believed her. Today, that was enough. That was everything.